Welcome to the podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast, where we help you learn natural English through real conversations. I'm Emily, and with me, as always, is Nick.
Hi everyone, it's great to have you back. Today's topic is something everyone experiences, whether you're traveling, living abroad, or just practicing your English skills. We're talking about how to order food and drinks at a restaurant.
Yes, this is one of the most practical and useful topics for English learners, because at some point you'll go to a cafe, a restaurant, or even a fast food place, and you'll need to know what to say. And it's not just about asking for food, it's also about sounding polite, confident, and natural.
Exactly. In English, politeness is really important, especially in service situations like this. So instead of saying, "Give me a coffee," which sounds a bit rude, you'd say, "Could I have a coffee, please?" Or, "I'd like a cup of coffee, please." Those little words, could and please, make a big difference.
Right. And even before ordering, you'll probably be greeted by a waiter or waitress who says something like, "Good evening, do you have a reservation?" Or "How many people?" It's good to be ready with short, natural responses. For example, you can say, "Yes, a table for two, please." Or "No, we don't, but is there a table available?"
That's a great example. Once you're seated, you might hear, "Can I get you something to drink?" Or, "Would you like to start with something to drink?" A polite response could be, "Yes, I'd like a glass of water, please," or, "I'll have a lemonade, thank you."
And if you're not ready, it's okay to say, "Could we have a few more minutes, please?" Or, "We're not ready to order yet." It sounds polite and gives you a bit more time to look at the menu.
Speaking of the menu, sometimes you might want to ask for recommendations. That's a very natural and friendly thing to do. You can say, "What do you recommend?" Or, "What's the most popular dish here?" Or, "Is there anything you'd suggest?"
Yes, and you might also need to ask about ingredients, especially if you have allergies or preferences. For example, "Does this contain nuts?" Or, "Is this dish vegetarian?" Or, "Can I get this without cheese, please?" These phrases help you stay safe and get exactly what you want.
Once you're ready to order, use phrases like, "I'd like the grilled chicken, please," or, "Can I have the pasta with tomato sauce?" Or, "For me, the steak, please." And when you're ordering drinks, it's usually, "I'll have a glass of red wine," or, "Could I get a bottle of sparkling water, please?"
If you're ordering multiple items, it's common to say, "For starters, I'll have the soup, and for the main course, the salmon." Or if you're ordering dessert, you could say, "Could I see the dessert menu, please?" Or, "What do you have for dessert?"
And one thing to remember, in British English, people often say, "Are you ready to order?" Or, "What can I get for you?" While in American English, you might hear, "What would you like?" Or, "Can I take your order?" But the idea is the same. It's your cue to start ordering.
Exactly. And once your food arrives, it's polite to say, "Thank you very much," or "That looks lovely." Small comments like that sound friendly and natural. If something's wrong, you can politely say, "Excuse me, I think this isn't what I ordered." Or, "Sorry, this is a bit cold, could you warm it up, please?"
Then, when you're finished eating, you can ask for the bill. In British English, we usually say, "Can we have the bill, please?" While in American English, they often say, "Can we get the check, please?"
And if you want to compliment the food, you can say something like, "That was delicious." Or, "Everything was wonderful, thank you." It's a really nice way to end your meal and show appreciation for good service.
Also, sometimes the waiter might ask, "Was everything all right?" Or, "Did you enjoy your meal?" The simplest response is, "Yes, thank you, it was lovely."
Ordering food in English is not just about memorizing phrases. It's about using polite tone, the right words, and confidence. Once you practice a few times, it becomes natural.
Definitely. And in our next segment, we'll go through a few real-life dialogues to help you hear how these expressions sound in natural conversation.
So let's imagine a simple situation. You walk into a restaurant in London for the first time. A waiter approaches and says, "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" Now, if you don't, you could say, "No, we don't. Do you have a table for two, please?" It's polite, clear, and easy to understand.
Yes, and once you're seated, the waiter might hand you the menu and say, "Here's the menu. I'll be back in a few minutes to take your order." During this time, you can look at the menu and discuss with your friend what you'd like to eat. If you're not sure how to pronounce a dish or what it means, it's perfectly fine to ask, "Excuse me, how do you pronounce this?" Or, "What's in this dish?"
Exactly. People appreciate when you ask politely. And remember, it's completely okay to take your time. When the waiter comes back, you might hear, "Are you ready to order?" If you're still looking, you can simply say, "Not yet, we need a few more minutes, please."
Once you're ready, you can start your order with phrases like, "I'll start with," or "I'd like." For example, "I'll start with the soup, please, and then I'll have the chicken salad." If you're ordering drinks, you could say, "I'll have a cup of tea, please," or "Could I have a glass of orange juice?"
One small but important detail. When ordering in English, using please and thank you is essential. Even though they're short words, they make your tone sound polite and natural. For example, instead of saying water, it's better to say, "Could I have some water, please?"
Right, and sometimes, you might want to customize your order a bit. For example, "Could I have the burger without onions?" or "Can I get the salad dressing on the side?" That's totally normal, and people will understand that you just prefer your food a certain way.
And if you're dining with others, you might need to order for everyone. You can say, "She'll have the pasta," or "He'd like the steak." That's common when you're speaking for someone else.
When the food arrives, it's polite to say, "Thank you very much," or even just, "Thanks." If the waiter asks, "Would you like anything else?" and you don't need anything, you can say, "No, thank you." That's all for now.
Sometimes you might be at a cafe or a casual restaurant where you order at the counter instead of a table. In that case, the conversation changes a bit. You might hear, "What can I get for you today?" Or, "What would you like to drink?" You can answer with, "I'd like a cappuccino, please." Or, "Can I have a sandwich and a bottle of water, please?"
Yes, and after paying, they might say, "Here you go," when handing your change or receipt, and it's natural to reply, "Thanks a lot," or "Thank you." Little exchanges like that make your interaction smooth and polite.
Now let's talk about situations where something isn't quite right. For example, if you get the wrong dish. It can feel uncomfortable, but there are polite ways to handle it. You can say, "Excuse me, I think this isn't what I ordered," or "Sorry, I ordered the chicken, not the fish." Always say it calmly and politely, and the waiter will usually fix it right away.
That's true, and sometimes, you might want to ask for more of something, like water or napkins. You can say, "Could we have some more water, please?" or "Could I get some extra napkins?" Simple, polite, and very natural.
Then, when you've finished eating, the waiter might come by and ask, "Was everything all right?" Or, "Did you enjoy your meal?" You can respond, "Yes, thank you, it was lovely," or "Everything was perfect." If you didn't enjoy it, it's okay to say something polite like, "It was fine, thank you," without being too direct.
After that, when you're ready to leave, you'll probably ask for the bill. Remember, in the UK, we say, "bill," while in the US, they say, "check." So you can say, "Could we have the bill, please?" or "Can I pay, please?" And if you're paying by card, you might add, "Can I pay by card?"
And if you're sharing the cost with a friend, you could ask, "Can we split the bill?" or "Could we pay separately?" These are very common and useful expressions to know.
Another small tip, in British restaurants, tipping is usually around 10 to 15% if the service charge isn't already included. You might hear the waiter say, "Service is included," which means you don't need to tip extra.
That's right, and at the end of your meal, it's always nice to say something positive like, "Thank you, the food was delicious," or "Everything was wonderful." It leaves a good impression and shows appreciation for the service.
Ordering food and drinks is one of those skills that becomes easier the more you practice. Once you learn the basic structure, greeting, ordering, asking questions, and paying, it all starts to feel very natural.
Exactly. And the best way to build confidence is to listen, repeat, and practice out loud. In a moment, we'll practice a short dialogue to show how these expressions sound in a real situation at a restaurant.
Alright, let's go through a short example before we wrap up today. Imagine this, you're at a restaurant, and the waiter comes over.
The waiter says, "Good evening, are you ready to order?" And you reply, "Yes, I'd like the grilled salmon, please. And could I also have a glass of water?" The waiter says, "Of course. Anything else?" And you say, "No, that's all for now, thank you."
Exactly, simple, polite, and natural. Then, after finishing your meal, you might say, "Could we have the bill, please?" The waiter brings it over, you pay, and before you leave, you can say, "Thank you, the meal was lovely." That's all you really need for a smooth restaurant experience in English.
And if you keep practicing these expressions, you'll sound more confident and natural every time you go out to eat, whether it's a cafe, a pub, or a fine dining restaurant.
That's the great thing about learning through real-life situations. It prepares you for the moments that actually happen.
Exactly. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the British Accent Podcast. In our next episode, we'll continue with another everyday English conversation you can use in your daily life.
Stay tuned, keep practicing, and we'll talk to you again soon.